Okay, so I updated my phone and apparently you can film videos and still have the video playing in the background. Don't know how that works. Um, but yesterday was Thanksgiving. I was gonna do a video yesterday, but I honestly just really wasn't up to it. Up for it, up to it. Didn't want to do it. I don't know. I don't know what to talk about. I think one thing is language. Language is an interesting thing. Language is something that people use to communicate, and some people don't use language at all. They use hand signals or they use eye movements. But language, in the sense of being able to speak with your mouth, is a blessing. And I think one thing is people have different languages or different words in a language that they feel are not to be said by anybody. And I think that's kind of weird because here in America, you can't say certain words, but in other countries like Britain and Australia, you can say those words. Um, both countries are, all three countries are first world countries, Western countries, all have Western ideas, um, and seemingly all have the same ideas in regards to race, gender, sexuality, and all of those other things. But seemingly, the United States, the culture in the United States, I don't know if it's the culture, the people, what, um, have a disdain for some language that is used over there, and over there they don't see it as a big deal. Now, maybe you can equate this to when um, black people say the N word, but I'm not entirely sure if that's even a one-to-one comparison. Because I think that is also used over there by other black people in a more endearing term. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just super interesting. I don't know how this came about. Who, I don't know, like, and I don't think anyone did this one thing, but it would be interesting to see, to look back in history and to study how did this divergence happen. Now I'm going to give a wild guess here and say it's just the history of the countries, which is probably the 100% correct. And histories of the countries and how they treat certain people. Um, I think in America, women can get credit cards till the 70s. I don't know how true that is for Britain or in Australia. Um, and that's just kind of one example. And I'm sure there are many others, and the differences in how each country treats its brethren or people or whatever. But I still think it's fascinating to see the differences from countries that are really kind of the same in values, just not in history. And then it's also funny to see how in the United States there's this idea of like doing whatever you want, uh, maybe like being tougher than everybody, maybe not being tougher than everybody, but um, having thicker skin and like making it on your own and rugged individualism. But seemingly it is thrown out the window when certain language is used. Just fascinating once again. Yeah, I've talked to other people about this in regards to like why, and other people that are from different countries, and they just kind of say that like Americans are spoiled in the way of being able to feel how they want to feel whenever they want to feel it and express that feeling. And then I think the spoiling comes in when you have a uh, when people are, I wouldn't say forced to listen, but like are encouraged to either listen or just completely fall in line. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, another thing. There's this YouTube channel called Clear Value Tax. I've never watched a single video of his. But making my assumptions, especially based off the last video that he made. He's all about lower taxes and I guess now government efficiency. What does that mean? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so I find it super interesting that people will really focus on the federal government and federal government efficiency or government efficiency, but never really seem to focus on state government efficiency. Because this guy, Clear Value Tax, is going to run for, or not run, apply to work at. He's going to do something in Elon Musk's Doge, something of government efficiency organization that Donald Trump has allowed him to have. And I think it's fascinating because he says that he's going to A, make sure that Doge keeps their promise, and while also trying to fulfill the ideas of like having government efficiency. I will tell you this from just learning about history and reading about it and understanding how people work. He's going to be corrupted. He says in his comment section that he will not be corrupted, and he will not be he will make sure that Doge does what it needs to do. He will be corrupted 100%. He will probably say on the surface that he is doing something good, but then if you would actually do some investigation, he's probably going to either take a deal, ignore one thing, or do something that is essentially just not helpful to the thing that he said he would be helpful for, which is government efficiency. In fact, I probably would take a big gander that starting this government efficiency thing is a giant waste of money and a huge waste of government efficiency. As I believe there are independent watchdogs that actually do this already, and he could probably just work for one of them and do it that way. But seemingly this idea that you're going to have a government efficiency in the government is somewhat of an oxymoron, because you're not going to have efficiency that way. You're just going to expend more money to hire more people to look into government, which then, even if you were to get rid of the, how would you say this, corruption, there's probably going to be corruption in that agency tasked with looking into corruption. And at that point, it's kind of pointless. So yeah, it's just kind of funny to watch people who think that they're going to do good. And you know that they're not going to do anything good. They're just going to waste their time, turn their back on their values, and then get rich that way. Because I guarantee, I have this very strange and odd feeling that this is less of a speaking to his followers type thing and more of a grift on his part, trying to get involved in either government in some way or get closer to Elon Musk. Because keep in mind, you had years to do this. He's been doing YouTube for quite some time, covering economic topics. Sometimes his videos show up in my feed. I never watch them because I just don't care. Because even if they were to do this magical thing, it would never really affect me. Which is also another funny thing, because his followers seem to think that all of these things are going to automatically affect them, and they're just not going to. In fact, it would probably be years before they even got affected by any sort of those policy things. I think the biggest things that you probably feel are memos coming down from the Department of Justice in regards to what crime should really go after, or things such as those, I'm just calling government checks, the COVID thingy-majigs, stimulus checks, those things. Yeah. Anyway, I was talking about Clear Value Tax, that guy. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a giant waste of time. It's going to be corrupted, and I honestly can't wait to see it happen. Because ultimately, Elon, I feel, doesn't just put anyone on his team for any reason. And just speaking from the fact that this is someone who, I don't know, it all makes too much sense for it to go wrong. Other than that, I have nothing else. I actually have one more thing. And that one other thing, honestly, probably isn't that important. It's just about developing relationships, either romantically or in life. What are those? I don't know what those are. I think a lot of people seem to think that they're a giant waste of time. And, you know, it's true that it is a giant waste of time, but you have to make it worth your time. Meaning you have to find people worth investing in. And sometimes you have to realize that when you invest in people at one time, they will not invest in you back. But then sometimes they might invest in you later, and then you won't invest in them when they come time. So it's very interesting, very strange. Yeah, yeah. Other than that, that's really it. I have work tomorrow. Um, very happy I have work tomorrow because I would like to save a little bit more. Haven't been able to do that. I actually did. Never mind. Yeah. All right. That's it. Have fun.